Welcome back to this grand finale to your 3-part short video series on how to embrace and enjoy this Christmas season. And if you haven't checked out the other 2 videos, then go check them out now, because you've been visited by the ghost of Christmas past and the ghost of Christmas present by now to help you embrace and enjoy this Christmas season. So just before you have your final visitor, let's just have a quick recap. The ghost of Christmas past shone a light on your Christmas pasts. Now, why? Because there was stuff in the past that's worth duplicating. Magic moments, great things, just great memories, things that went well because you were present. You enjoyed them. You experienced them with all that joy and that excitement. And some of that stuff you want to duplicate in this festive season. And so we looked at how did that come about? And it was because you gave yourself the time and the space and you planned some of this stuff. Now, some of it was spontaneous, but you still gave yourself the time and the space to be able to be spontaneous. When you're too busy, when you're just like, you haven't got the capacity to be spontaneous. So we learned from the past to say, well, when we give ourselves the time and the space, when we deliberately and consciously give ourselves that, and we think about these things and we plan some of these things, then great stuff happens. What we also shone a light on, though, the ghost of Christmas past shone a light on the things that, well, they didn't quite go so well. The stuff that we want to avoid. And we were talking about the kind of stuff where you either missed out completely because you were just working too hard, too long, and you didn't think you had time. And some of that would have been with your family. Maybe it was an ice skating trip. Maybe it was the nativity at school. Maybe it was a Christmas craft fair. Maybe it was going to a Christmas market with your partner, whatever it might be. Maybe you missed out completely because you were just too busy. A lot of guilt and resentment comes with that. But there were other things that maybe you were there, but you just weren't present because you were too busy thinking about everything else. So we looked at that from the past and said, well, what can we learn? We don't want to replicate that. So again, let's give ourselves the time and the space to be able to avoid that. How did those things come about? So how can we then avoid that this Christmas? I know for some of you, you were coming into this Christmas going, I am already working really hard and really long, and I'm worried that this is going to happen because it's happened in the past and it's going to happen again. So this 3-part series is trying to help you avoid that and make the most of the precious moments. So we delved into the past to understand what some of those precious moments were that we want to duplicate and add to what we already want to do. And also what's the stuff that we want to avoid. And then the ghost of Christmas present came along, the holly jolly spirit that he is. And we looked at the present and we prioritized those magic moments. The magic moments for you, your family, your friends. Instead of everything else being at the mercy of work. So work dominates, and then we've just got to fit everything in around work. What we started with was, because the ghost of Christmas present is all about the people, the present, the love, the giving, the moment, the magic moments. And that comes from the people in our lives, not from the work. So we focused on that and we said, all the things that you want to do, be it the stuff from the past, stuff that's new this year, schedule it, get it in the diary, talk to them about it, get everybody excited about it so you can look forward to it. Because if you don't, there's a bigger chance that it'll just go by the wayside and it won't happen. We get one Christmas a year. Let's embrace it. Let's enjoy it. And if we've got to plan out a few things because we're trying to navigate different calendars and where people are and days off and all that kind of stuff, then let's do it. It's worth doing that at the beginning of December so that we can then enjoy the rest of the month. Not just leave it to hoping and wishing and praying that things are going to work out, because that's when things don't. And that's when things get missed. So the ghost of Christmas present really made us focus on what was most important. for making our festive season the best it can be. Which brings us to today. And today you're going to get visited by the spirit that Ebenezer Scrooge feared the most. The ghost of Christmas yet to come. Not really a holly jolly spirit, this one. Because what happens if you are too busy? What if you don't take control of your time and your work? What if you let work get out of control? What if your only strategy is to work harder and longer and try and dot every I and cross every T and get everything done before Christmas in this big panicky frenzy, as if there's no life after Christmas and everything needs to be done before you break up for Christmas? Does this sound familiar? I spent 20 years in the corporate world, and despite it being my favorite time of the year, so many were compromised, especially the build up and the big day, because I was just pushing harder and harder and harder, trying to get everything done as if my life depended on it. And it's ridiculous, because there is a January. There is life after Christmas. But it almost feels like everything's got to get done. You can't do it. It's not that you don't have the capability to get everything done. You can do everything on your massive to-do list. You just can't do it all at the same time and all by yesterday, right? But that's the kind of mentality we sort of go into. And there's that extra pressure because there's like performance management stuff that we might need to get ready. And there's all that computer-based annual training that we need to sign off before Christmas, the end of the year. And our contractors are just about to go off because they don't work a certain period during December. So any work that we need them to get done, we've got to get done in the first week. And, otherwise things don't happen. And then all this. I get it. I know. I understand. But look, you know what happens if if you let this get out of control, if you don't take control of this, if you keep looking at it in the same way. Maybe you've had, some of those things in the past those Christmases have been compromised, but you don't know how to. So Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come is our stark reminder. What happens if we just carry on regardless? What happens when we miss our kids' school nativity? And they're looking out for you because you promised them you'd be there. But you're not, because there was some document, there was some email, there was some project, and you didn't show up. I mean, it was just like half hour, 40 minutes out of your day to be there, see their smiling face. But you let work get in the way and you weren't there. And they're looking out in the audience trying to find you and they're not there. And their disappointed little face, and then at the end of the day you ask them how it went and they're just disappointed. They've got that look in their eyes and they, where were you, Daddy? Oh, I was at work. I'm sorry, I wanted to be there. I'll be there next time. Yeah, you said that this year and you said that last year. Maybe the carol concert that you all went to as a family, but you were quiet in the car because you were just in your own head. You were just thinking about all the work you had to do and how it was all out of control. And you were feeling guilty because you weren't really feeling in the mood, in the moment. And all the carols were going off, but you weren't really singing. It was like miming with your mouth. And you weren't really taking in the Christmas story sermon and that magic of being in a cathedral or a church and just at Christmas time, no matter what you believe, it's just, you weren't part of it. If anything, it just felt like a chore. And your family knew. Your wife knew. Your husband knew. Your partner knew. They give you that look. The whole family's excited about getting the Christmas tree. But it's just another thing on your to-do list. It gets in the way, actually. Do you got other things to do? The excitement of choosing a tree, and they're all excited, but you're like, I don't matter, whatever. Decorating the tree, you're not really that engaged. They're all excited, you're not. They can see it. You're so busy that Christmas shopping becomes this manic rush just before Christmas, when most of the blooming stock's gone, all the good stuff's gone. You're left with just some stuff that, it's just to get something rather than it being thoughtful. And then you're beating yourself up about that. And because you work late hours and you just grab that at whatever time that you could, you're wrapping your presents at 3 o'clock in the morning. There's no real spirit of Christmas in the build up to it. It just feels like a blur. It's just work and work and work. And yeah, this stuff's happening. It's happening around you, or you are there, but you're not really engaged. Some of it you missed out on. And you're just left wondering how the hell you got to this point again. Why is this happening again? It's supposed to be special. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be exciting. Your kids are young. They're bouncing off the walls with excitement, but you're not feeling it. You certainly don't have the time and the energy. Well, you haven't been around because you've been working late. You haven't done all the arts and crafts with them. The baking. Even going to Santa just felt like a chore, right? You weren't really there. You were just thinking about other things. I mean, you took the pictures. You smiled. And of course, the big day itself. I mean, kids are just so excited in the morning, right? They're bouncing off the walls. They do their funky Christmas dance. But you can barely open your eyes. They're sore. You just got nothing in the tank. You feel a bit sick. Got a headache. You're just not feeling it. Somehow you manage to crawl out of bed. They're still all bouncing off the walls. So having summoned that energy, they're ripping all the paper off the presents, and they're just like, beaming, and the excitement there, and you're just like, got nothing. You're like, you forget to take some video or some photos, and you're kind of missing it. You're like, that just glazed over, sat on the sofa, you're kind of watching it happen, but it's happening in front of you, but you're not really taking it in. They kind of look at you on occasion and see you, and there's that kind of, just that pause, that change in energy from them as they see that you're just like vacant. I mean, don't get me wrong, they still have a great time, right? But how do you feel? How does it feel after Christmas? How much regret do you have? How much resentment do you have? How much sadness do you have? Because you missed out. Because you weren't the mum, the dad, the partner, the carer that you knew you could be. That you knew you can be this larger than life, just excited, joyful person at Christmas, but you weren't, because you let work get in the way of all of that. You prioritized work over all of that. You prioritized your worries about work because it was out of control, because you didn't take control of work, and you don't know how to. That doesn't make it go away, that feeling, that empty feeling that you have. And it's like, oh, well, maybe next year will be different. How many Christmases have you told yourself that? This is the stark news that the ghost of Christmas yet to come has for us. You don't want that. If, like me, you've experienced that in the past, knowing full well you can't get those magic moments back, whether right now you're looking at it thinking, if I keep going the way I am, then that sounds like my Christmas. Let's do something about it. Okay? Let's do something about it. The ghost of Christmas yet to come just showed a bleak future. And that was enough for Scrooge. Now you've already learnt from the past what you want to avoid. You want to avoid a lot of that the ghost of Christmas yet to come has just described. The ghost of Christmas past also shone a light on all the stuff that maybe you want to duplicate. And the ghost of Christmas present got some of those things in the diary right now. So how do we make sure that how do we make sure that we get control of work so that we can thoroughly enjoy all of that and still feel a sense of control, calm, confidence when it comes to work? Because if we can do that, then we can enjoy everything else. So let me give you 4 steps. Let me give you the 4 steps, my 4 steps to help you right now. And it's based on my work leadership model. So we're going to rattle through this, but I'm going to give you, and it's what you do one thing at a time, but I'm going to give you all 4 of them right here, right now, so you can start putting this stuff into place right now. Okay? So step 1, mindset. I know when it comes to work, people go, just tell me what to do with the work. How do I reduce the to-do list? How do I manage my work better? It all starts with how you're looking at work and how you're looking at your role at work. Let me quickly explain before you think this is nonsense. Just give me the strategy and the tactics. If you think that you're there to do everything, which is what this frantic pre-Christmas feeling usually is, if you think you're there to do everything and get everything done, that is what is then leading you to work harder and longer, because you think that's the only strategy you have. The only way you can get everything done is to just work harder and longer. Of course, it doesn't work like that, because you've probably got way too much stuff on your list to actually do. And by the way, the good news is your to-do list is never ending. You think it's a definitive number. You've got, I've got 101 things on my list to do. Yeah. But by the time you got to number 101, even if you got there, trust me, there's another 101 things on it. By the nature of business, by the nature of human beings, there is always more that we can do. So you have a never-ending to-do list. You're trying to get everything done on a never-ending to-do list. It makes no logical sense whatsoever, which is why we continue that cycle, not just through Christmas, but through the entire year. We are always playing catch up. We are always so busy. We do this one thing. We should have a sense of acknowledgement and achievement. But we can't have that because there's this new thing, and then there's new thing, and then there's new thing. It's relentless. It's unrewarding. It's unsatisfying. It's unfulfilling. Ring any bells? I lived like this for a lot of years in my corporate life. It's why I don't want it for you, because I know where it ends. It doesn't end pretty. And Christmas is one of those seasons that really gets compromised as a result of it. And it's one of those seasons that we feel an awful lot of regret and sadness about afterwards. So what have we got to do? You're not there to do everything. As a manager, as a leader, as a business owner, your job is not to get everything done. That is not your role. You go, well, there's a lot to do, and I've got to do stuff, Martin. Right. We just need to shift how you're looking at work. Is it true? And these 2 things, correct me if I'm wrong, because the whole simplicity of this is shifting it to something that is abundantly true and that we already know to be true. Okay? If I try to get you to to believe that the grass is blue, we got a problem, right? We got a big old challenge. But if what I'm about to say to you is shifting it to something that you already know is true and comes with a whole different energy and a whole different load of next steps. Okay? So is it not true that you're there to make the biggest difference? As a leader, as a manager, as the business owner, are you not there? Are you not employed to make the biggest difference you can in that role? Is that true? It's true, right? Nothing false about that are true. You are there to make the biggest difference. Now, let me just challenge you on this. Can you make the difference if you're running around like a headless chicken, trying to get 101 things done all at the same time by last Friday, stressing yourself out? And by the way, the harder and longer you work, the more stressed and overwhelmed you get, the more exhausted you get, the more mistakes you make, and the slower it takes you to get anything done. So is that being the kind of manager, kind of leader, the kind of business owner that's making the biggest difference? It's not, right? Can we all agree on that? So what is it? So you're there to make the biggest difference. Well, how would you do that? Well, is it not about, instead of trying to do everything, and by the way, some of that is, should you even be doing it? And other things is, well, do I need to do it now? So is it not true that to make the biggest difference, you've got to be looking at doing the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in the right way? Do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in the right way. Is that not true? Is that not true? It's true, right? Right? There's no fault in the logic that you are there as a manager, as a leader, as a business owner to make the biggest difference. And with the 101 things, or indeed the never-ending to-do list in front of you, your role, your responsibility is to look at it all and make sure that you, and indeed the team, is focusing on the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in the right way. And by doing that, you're going to make the biggest difference. And with that comes an entirely different energy. You are automatically calmer, more confident, more focused, feeling more in control. This is a simple mindset shift that makes everything else possible. Because I can give you strategies and tactics. I'm going to tell you in a moment what to do with the workload. But if I can give you 3 top questions to ask of everything that you've got on your list, including meetings, and it will reduce that 101 things down to 3 things a day. I will show you that in a moment. But if you're in the mindset of I've got to do everything and just running around like a headless chicken, I can give you those things, but you're not going to put them into place because you're still going to think that everything is urgent and important and due last Friday. You're going to treat everything with the same amount of urgency. Newsflash, there's a whole bunch of false urgency and false importance in that list. Your role is to figure out what the right thing is to focus on right now, because you can only do one thing at a time. Focus on one thing at a time. This is why this is so important. Shift from trying to do everything. And by the way, remember, there's life after Christmas. There is stuff that can be deferred. But your role right now is not to try and get everything done. It never was. It's there to make the biggest difference. It's there to do the right things at the right time for the right reasons in the right way. And if you and your team, if you've got a team, work like that, think like that, not only are you going to be less stressed, less overwhelmed, less exhausted, more balanced, you're going to have more time with your family because you're going to get more done, make a bigger difference in less hours. You're going to do that. That feels like the kind of calm, confident, in control leader, manager, business owner that you probably want to be. And it all starts with that simple shift. So with that shift, and you've got to drill that into you. You've got to look yourself in the mirror and remind yourself, whenever you open the laptop, whenever you open the doors to the office, you go in going, right, I'm here to make the biggest difference. I can look at the right thing at the right time for the right reasons in the right way, right? Go in with that attitude. Keep reminding yourself of that. And then once you've got that, it's like, right, I've got all this workload. So the second step is workload. Right, with workload, how do I know what the right things are to do at the right time for the right reasons and in the right way? How do I do that? How do I know what's going to make the biggest difference? We need to start asking some questions of everything on the list. And these are simple questions. First question, why? Why am I doing this? And this comes in two parts. Why am I doing this? Because it might be something that somebody else should be doing or could do. And the second thing, why am I doing this? Literally, what is the big why? Why is this meeting required, necessary? Why is this piece of work necessary? Massive difference between the reason why this is being done is because the CEO is flying in from Switzerland at 9 o'clock on Monday and needs this report because they're going to be making some serious decisions about our department, right? That is a huge why. Different why to, well, we just want to review something at the next team meeting, but if we don't get round to it, we can always do it the next team meeting. Do you really have the clarity on the why, the really deep why for everything that's on that list and every meeting that you're going to? If it doesn't have a really powerful why, you've got to challenge why it's on the list or why you're giving it so much urgency and importance right now. And it's not just because somebody is shouting loudest. There's a whole bunch of false urgency out there, false deadlines, the lot. So look at why. First question is, why am I doing this? What's the big why? But also then personally, why am I doing this? Second question, what's the consequence if this doesn't get done? What's the consequence if this doesn't get done? And there's two parts to this. Get done at all. Some tasks, literally, if it never gets done, no consequence or minimal consequence. Some of it, if it doesn't get done, massive consequence. Huge difference between, that report that we just wanted to review at the next team meeting, but could be deferred. The consequence, therefore, is nothing because we'll just see it at the next meeting. Consequence of not getting that report done for the CEO flying in from Switzerland at 9 o'clock on Monday morning, who's making those decisions about our department. If we don't have that report ready for them then, he might already have made some decisions about our department. Or a big difference between if we don't get this thing done by this particular date, it's an inconvenience. We'll have to knock some things back. Versus we'll have a £10 million fine from the regulators. There's a huge difference in why, and there's a huge difference in consequence. Do you have the clarity of consequence with everything on your list, with every meeting? If you don't, you need to challenge it. The consequence of you not turning up at that meeting and maybe having a 5-minute catch up with the chair of the meeting afterwards, rather than sitting through a 2-hour meeting, the consequence is negligible. But the benefit to you, getting those 2 hours back so you can actually focus on the right thing at the right time, massive. But you still get an update for 5 minutes. So you know where things are. Or you could send somebody in your place. You have to value your time. You can't make the difference by trying to go to everything and be everywhere and do everything. Consequence, a massive question. You start asking the why and the consequence, that list of 101 things is going to start really narrowing down. You're going to see, and there's going to be different levels, but you're going to see the stuff that's really, genuinely worthy of your time right now, worthy of your team's time right now. And of course, what you've got to have an idea of is the objectives, the goals of your department, the company, the project you're working on in order to look at this. In terms of that why and the consequence, you've got to have a good handle on that. But as a good manager, as a good leader, as a good business owner, you're going to have that, right? And if you don't, you just need to go and check up on that. Because the third question, now that you've narrowed things down, is you look at all those things and you go, what's going to make the biggest difference? So that project you're working on, there are three three actions that you could be focusing on right now, which one's going to make the biggest difference? And sometimes that's about the order in which they're done. It's no good doing action 3 before you've done actions 1 and 2, but have you thought about them like that? The amount of times people do things in the wrong order and then they wonder why stuff's more complicated than it needs to be. Start asking what's going to make the biggest difference. And then you will narrow that down. And my rule of thumb is the rule of 3. 3 things every day that you need to either complete or move forward. And those have got the biggest why, they've got the biggest consequence, and they've got the biggest difference. That is not to say that they are the only things that you get done. You will do other things, but you will carve out time to make sure that those things have got your attention and focus. Which brings us on to the next bit, which is time. Ask those questions of everything, and you will get a clarity that you haven't had before. You will have a much more reduced list, and you will go into what I call, especially for the Christmas season, essential only mode. You only want to be focusing on stuff that is absolutely essential. Anything that can be deferred till after Christmas, anything without an absolute concrete deadline and a huge why and a huge consequence, it can be deferred. Focus on essential only. And these questions really help you do that, because ultimately you're there with the stuff that's going to make the biggest difference. And you only have a short amount of time before Christmas. So you need to look at that, and you need to look at all those meetings, and anything that does not have a big why or consequence, you can decline the meetings or get somebody else to go or catch up with the chair afterwards. It frees up time, valuable time that you don't have before Christmas. That's how you get in control of your workload. With that mindset, can you see that if you're still in the mindset of, I need to do everything, those questions, you're just going to go, and still try and get everything done. But now you're taking charge, you're taking control of your workload, you're taking control of how you're looking at work. And now you need to look at your time. Right, I know what I need to do, so I need to control my time to get these things done. I need to focus my time to get these things done. So how are you going to do that? If you've now got those 3 things that you must do or must progress each day, right, great. How are you going to do it? Without distraction, without interruption, without trying to multitask. My favorite myth to bust, multitasking. We're not going to go into a load of detail on it right now, because this is already a long visit from your ghost. But you can only focus on one thing that truly needs your attention. You can only focus on one thing at a time. Multitasking is a myth. So how are you going to focus that time? So if you schedule out 2 hours, you get it in the diary, get it scheduled, like we did with all the other stuff. Yeah, the personal stuff. You go, right, here's that thing that I need to focus on. Right, 2 hours, that block there on Tuesday. That's when I'm going to progress it, I'm going to complete it. How are you going to hold yourself to account to do that? If that phone's ringing, if there's a whole load of noise in the office, if emails are pinging in, if texts are coming in, it's going to take you forever. You're not going to make the most use of that time. So how are you going to lock yourself away? Are you going to work from home that day? You're going to shut down all the other tabs on your computer. You're going to turn off your phone and just focus so nobody else can distract you or interrupt you. Are you going to, if you're in the office, are you going to go and book a meeting room? It's one of my favorite things to do when I was in the office. I'd book out a meeting room and just focus, because the office was so noisy and there was always people walking by and phones were always ringing and people wanted you and would stop by, sometimes with work stuff, sometimes with nonsense stuff. And it would then take you so much longer to get anything done. Well, if you just lock yourself away for an hour, you can get through stuff so much quicker and with less mistakes. So when it comes to time, you now got to look at those things that you now need to focus your time on and go, right, when am I going to do them? And you schedule them in the diary, you block out that time, you get them off your to-do list and in your diary, and then you go, and where am I going to do it? And how am I going to do it so that I'm not distracted, I'm not interrupted, and I've got pure focus. I'm not multitasking. I'm going to shut down all the tabs on the computer. Focus on this one thing. This is how you get in control of your time. Now you've got in control of your mindset. You've got in control of your workload. And now you're in control of your time. This feels good. This helps you become that calm, confident, in control manager, leader, and business owner. So the fourth thing is then habits. What are your daily habits to get you through each day with health, with balance, with energy? So there are so many things. I'm going to leave you with two things to do, especially in this run up to Christmas. First, set your boundaries. What's your start time? What's your end time to work? And I know that we can just work for, again, because our to-do list was never ending, we can keep working and working and working. We can work till 3 o'clock in the morning and we still got shed loads to do, right? If you don't take control of your work hours, trust me, work will take care of them for you. And if you've got into a pattern of working harder and longer hours, it's because you're not in control of your work. You're not in control of your time. You're not in control of your boundaries. So one of the habits to have is to make sure that you set that time. And this is particularly at Christmas, because you might want to go to that carol concert. You might be going ice skating with your family. You might be going to go and get the Christmas tree. You might be decorating the house. And these are brilliant reasons for you to leave work. So you've got that in the diary, and then you go, which means I need to leave work here. I need to leave work at 5:30. And maybe you haven't left work at 5:30 for years. But it's like, I need to be with my family at 6 o'clock. I need to leave work at 5:30 because we're doing this. They're really excited. I'm really excited. And the beautiful thing is when you then actually follow through on that, you get a massive sense of pride of you're in control. Man, I did that. And you'll realize it was quite easy to do, especially when you've got a better handle on your workload and your time. So set the boundaries. And those extra things that are outside of work, use those as the leverage for you to actually do that. Some days you might work a little later because you've got that capacity. But set your boundaries. It'll help you get the balance back, not just at Christmas, but through the entire year. And the second thing, real simple, take breaks. Take breaks. So you want to maintain your energy so you're not so exhausted. You want to maintain your focus and your clarity trying to get these important things done. Take breaks. The biggest studies of high performers on the planet, so in terms of the biggest studies on the planet, as well as the best high performers on the planet, the results showed the key high performance habits. And these are not just people that are performing well at work, yet abundantly in terms of finances, purpose at work, but we're talking also abundant in health, in relationships, in all areas of life. They are high performers. On average, it was shown that they took a break every 52 minutes. No matter what they were doing, on average, they took a break every 52 minutes. A short break, get up, yeah, they're going to have a drink, they'll just stretch out, they'll get clarity, they'll get their mind stimulated with other things, just so that their brain can just kind of recalibrate, take it all in, reassess the energy, and then come back. They're clearer, they're more focused, they're more productive as a result. They get more done, they're more focused. A high performance habit, simple one, take a break. But how many times we go, oh, I'm too busy to take a break. You haven't got time for a 5 minutes or a 2 minute break. Well, all the studies, all the science shows that if you have a regular break, so just go for one small break every hour when you're working, outside of obviously lunch hours and stuff. Take a break. Just keep your energy and your focus and your clarity there. And that's what you want. And if you do that, not only does that help you through the day at work, by the time you then come to the end of work, where you've got those other things that you want to be doing with your family, you'll have more energy then. You won't feel totally exhausted because you're running around like a headless chicken. You put all of the compound effect of all of these things, when how you're looking at work is different, the control you have over your workload, the focus you've got in your time, and then the habits that get you through the day, all of a sudden you're more productive, making a bigger difference in less hours at work, and you have more energy and more time with your family to do the stuff that you really want to do. My friends, this is how you get the balance. This is how you get the balance at life, but this is how you get the balance during Christmas too. The ghost of Christmas yet to come had a very bleak message. If we don't take control of our work and our time, We know, you know, how things can escalate and get out of control and what you can miss out on. And at the end of the day, really, you're the one. You know, the kids will have a good Christmas anyway, unless you have a total and utter meltdown, which, by the way, you're at more risk of. They'll remember that. But barring that, they'll have a good time. You'll be the one after Christmas and even years afterwards, regretting. How could you let work stand in the way of those precious moments, especially if you've got a young family? You're the one that's got to live with that. I don't want that for you. You don't want that for you. Your family doesn't want that for you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you've learned a lot. I hope this has been useful, not just for Christmas, but for the whole year through. But yeah, specifically to help you embrace and enjoy this Christmas season by looking into our past, the stuff that went well, the stuff that didn't quite go so well. Looking at the present and making sure that we're really focusing on the stuff that really matters. And then looking into the future and going, that is not a future I want. I can create a better one if I get in control of my work, of my time, of my habits, of how I look at work. And then I combine that with all the other stuff that I learned from the other previous ghosts to have a magical, a joyful, an enjoyable, and exciting Christmas with your family. That's what I wish for you. Thank you so much for joining me. Share your comments below, share your insights below, share what you're going to be doing now to make sure that you take control of everything as much as you can. The stuff that's in your control, the stuff you can't control, hey, whatever. But you can control the work stuff and how you're looking at it and the questions you ask and what time you're focusing. You can focus and take control of your habits every day. You can take control of your schedule, your diary, of what goes in there, both personally and professionally. And we can learn. We can learn from the past. And we can make this a truly joyful Christmas season. And that's what I wish for you. Thank you so much for joining me. It's been a privilege and a pleasure to share this with you. And until next time, have a great Christmas with your family.